Many thanks for choosing us. Municipal authorities at the Medina say they have begun pumping out water from homes at Oyarifa Green Hills, a suburb within the constituency, flooded for the last 5 days, leaving many trapped and children unable to go to school. The flooding was as a result of heavy rains in the area. We'll hear from the area shortly, but first, Manuel Kuranting has been interacting with some residents.
The only difference between the situation we have here at Oyarifa Green Hill and what was the situation 2 days ago is just an addition of 2 extra days. The water levels are still pretty much around the knee level. The people are still trapped in their homes. Over the side, I see some of the kids who are trapped in their homes, just, running about in the house, which in itself has been inundated by the water. Across this particular stretch where I have been walking through the flat waters, I see a stretch of buildings with markings of the La Nkwantana Medina Municipal Assembly, which says stop work. Well, all of those warnings, if you like, from the Municipal Assembly have fallen on deaf ears, as we're seeing steady progress of the buildings on the waterways. I'll try and through the water, get to this side where I see a few of the people who are trapped in this particular house.
That was last week, Wednesday. We're not expecting it. It was just drizzling. Then all of a sudden, it became serious. Then Thursday, this is not the second time. I think this is the third time. I've been here for 2 years and I've witnessed this for, I think, 2 years now. When it rains, there's no gutter, there's nothing should be done. We'll be inside, we can't go out. We have been stuck, the children are still home. We really need help. If the state, the government can bring us pump. For now, we can't plead for gutters because it's so choke here. There's no lay to be helped to create any gutters, but we need help as pump to let the water be a little bit okay so that we can go out, we can breathe well. The scent is too much.
The parliament team PA. A direct team got to be impo. Yes, a damn so but to actual fence, you must not go to Adriano. Me man team in school. Thousands you to Ayano, and Quano will fiesta, I want to be in school. And yes, Lenana, Ado, say upon a chow, or my boy. Now, when you go to my
What you heard her saying, that she's been camped here since Thursday. She's not been able to go out, and she's calling on the president and by extension authorities within the area to come to their aid. And I see some of the kids here. How long since Thursday? That's 5 days now. How does that make you feel?
5 days.
How does that make you feel?
Bad.
You want to go to school?
Yes.
So what? How do you cross from this side to the side?
I walk in the bridge.
You walk over the bridge. Are you not scared that you may even fall into the pool of water?
I fall before.
You falling before?
Yes.
When was that?
Last week.
Last week you fell into the pool of water.
Yes.
I see. So how were you picked out of the water?
It is smelling.
I see. And you're hearing him, and of course that gives you an indication of indeed the threat not only to their properties, even their lives here.
Sensual number there many problem, but wo nyanyanchire ne scorpion no omu gugunso nani mesi mi kun omo tesese nya me kwa hwe no eti no ne kra nyame ni de ha me kra ne se wa bre na wo beda na mponchireni no omu su munim se nya mponchireni su we su wa ha na we su asom na minim ne mame ne papa no ne nanam chese akwese wuti efie busu efie na dede wo fie sa na ete.
He's mentioning that there are, some animals, dangerous animals within the pool of water that's gathered here for 5 days. He says that he had actually got cause to kill a snake about 3 days ago.
Na kodem yes tonumu osenya manyina maye. Ye kodem na efensum yo ansa na ye kodem.
Bansa modan fa.
Mu ana yada.
Dan su ni mu.
Ai. Bebi ani ho ebe ko. Ye ni bebia ebe pake nyamane koe nti ye demu saa
se mponcheni nso ye didi paa o ha
enya agro woda wontumi da
mo ye den
woda no me kru za adia be
Well, MC Jennifer Jabing says officials of NADMO have been directed to pump out water from the homes of the affected residents. She spoke on JoyNews desk on the JoyNews channel.
I have listened and I have read his letter to the divisional commander indicating his intentions to join his people or lead his people to demonstrate. It's very laughable. It's very laughable, especially coming from someone who was crusading all over the place in 2020, telling people to abandon or dump someone who had brought in so much development to the people of Medina, to try him to do more. And all of a sudden, we want to do demonstrations. If it was about demonstrations, then unfortunately, he cannot call himself a leader. No member of parliament says they are leading their people to demonstrate. That is an easy way out. We have members of parliament who are ministers of state. And we all know how members of parliament play a key role in lobbying their colleagues to bring development. Honorable Boniface served just 4 years in office in Medina. And the level of development that came, major storm drains, 8 of them, unprecedented in the history of our municipality. And you come in, we cannot boast of 1 meter drain from you, and your easy way out of this is demonstration. It's very unfortunate. We need him to do better than that. We have had long-standing abandoned projects dating back as way from Postata Mills' time that the MPP government came to complete. Where was he? Has he taken the trouble to look at that? The immediate step, for instance, with the images that we are looking at, the immediate step is to look at the nearest drainage or the nearest storm drains that are around these areas to consume the water that has gone into their homes. We have other places where during this flooding we will just use water pumps to pump out the water from their homes as an immediate solution for them, which currently is ongoing. Some residents have called on the assembly, and the NADMO is on the ground doing some of these things. But for the major ones that go or stretch beyond the homes and find itself on the street, look at the nearest storm drains around to channel some of these water.
So you're saying that this has started? We've started pumping the water out of the homes?
Yes, in some areas. In some areas.
So if you could be just specific with us, so because yesterday we were at this particular community and they still have water, their homes submerged in water.
Yes. So, for instance, in areas like Babayara, the My Hot areas where these issues have come up and residents have reported, the NADMO is on the ground doing this work currently. But if you look at this situation, the solution would be to look at the nearest storm drain around the place to channel out the water, because the water extends beyond just the homes of the people into the street.
Meanwhile, Medina MP Francis Xavier Zozu, who has served notice of a constituency-wide demonstration, says he will go ahead in spite of the MCE's assurances.
I filed an urgent question in respect of the lack of planning. I filed an urgent question in respect of all the roads in Medina, and I've actually the Aimensa all the way to Amrehia roads. There's an urgent question on that. There's an urgent question on roads in Sakura, and there's an urgent question on the abandoned project in Medina. In fact, there's an urgent question even on the hospital project that has been abandoned, because when you look at the Kekele hospital, it's just left with something maybe less than 10 or 15% of work, and the entire hospital will be ready. And this Kekele hospital services over 50,000 people annually. And yet, it seems that nothing is working in Medina. I cannot be an MP of an area that would not work. If it is not working, I will make it work. And that is why I am leading my people to demand from the right quarters our own fair share of national development. This is a letter I have addressed. It's just today that I sent this letter. And this letter, I address it to the divisional commander of the Adenta Division Command. And the letter is so clear that we are giving them 5 days notice. Because next week, Monday, under my own leadership, the chiefs, the elders, the youth organizations and the youth leaders, the transport associations, resident associations, everyone who has suffered for using those stretch, particularly from Imensa all the way to Amrehia, we are calling on all of them to come out so that we can use that last tool, which is a tool in a democracy, to freely express our anger to the state and to the government and to the people who are custodians of our money and who have given this roads to contract and have refused to either pay the people for the contractors to come or have just turned their deaf ear to the plight in Medina.
This afternoon, it's emerging that more people have been trapped in their homes by flood waters following weeks of consistent rains in Accra. We just brought you a story about how residents of Oyarifa Green Hills had been trapped in their homes for 5 days by the flood waters. JoyNews is learning they are not alone. More than 8 households at Obeye in the Wawase municipality have been caged by the flood waters for close to 2 months now. My colleague Manuel Coranting, who reported on the Oyarifa situation, is also at Obeye in the East municipality. He's been there and he joins me in the studio for more. How do you mention that?
Obeye.
Obeye. Yes. Okay. First, before we even go to Obeye, tell me what's the update on Oyarifa?
Well, this morning we got the municipal chief executive for the Lankwantana Medina municipality, Jennifer Dede Ejabeng, who said she had instructed the NADMO officials within the area to, as it were, get the water pumped. The update we have just the past couple of minutes is that pumping was not successful. And so the NADMO officials have actually packed out their gadgets out of the area. And so as it stands now, the place at Oyarifa is still flooded. The people in there are still trapped in their houses. They say they're going to explore other options on how they are able to pump the water. That's for the Oyarifa situation. But what you're seeing in your shots currently is visuals from the Obeye area. In fact, this particular area is called Ayikaindo. It's within the Wawase municipality. And the residents there tell me that for close to 3 months now, they have been caught up in their homes. The affected households, about 8 of them, all of them are unable to go out of their houses without getting wet. And so they have to use Wellington boots to walk through the huge pools of water that have gathered in the area. They say that it is as a result of a construction of a road project that you know, they say the contractor has sort of blocked the culvert under the road, which essentially has also blocked the waterway. And so for now, the water just gathers in their homes and does not get any, you know, exit point to move out. And so it's been there for the past close to 3 months. And one gentleman actually spoke to me and said that, well, for now, they even see fishes in the water. They see snakes. They see some reptiles in the water, as you're seeing in your shots now, Aisha.
Of course. And then so this is the update on what we've been monitoring for the past 5 days. And now Obeye in the East municipality is also having their fair share of the rains. Is their situation different from what you saw in Oyarifa?
Yes, Aisha. Indeed, the only difference, as I maintain, is the number of days that they've had to suffer it. At Oyarifa, it's been like 5 days. At Obeye, it's close to 3 months. And they say that the water is not receding, and so they are all, you know, caged in that area, and they have to use. There's a gentleman who took me to see a ladder. So he has 2 ladders, you know, put or inclined against the wall so that he climbs up the ladder into his house and climbs up the ladder out of his house just to be able to move out. He says his wife has not been out of the house for the past 2
And
months.
I even heard someone say that they've not been able to go out to buy food.
Exactly. And so for now, what they do is to the least opportunity they get, they go out and get non-perishable foods, canned foods, and so on and so forth, so that they can stock up and be in the house until they get the needed help, which has not been coming.
Has NADMO spoken about this? Have they gone to the area? What have they been telling you?
In fact, I got in touch with the one of the engineers in charge of this particular road project, which is being named as a cause of this the situation you have there. And she tells me that there are talks to actually get a culvert constructed to, as it were, ease the pressure of from the water in the area. As it stands now, there's not been any exact, if you like, direct response that has been giving relative to the situation, but they are hoping that they are able to do that. In the meantime, the residents are caging, and it's just, you know, ticking by the day, moving out. We are close to 3 months now. It waits to be seen how longer the residents would have to go caged in their houses, Aisha.
All right, and of course, the flooding situation in our country is getting worse by the day, and we journalists are getting tired of revising the same old script for years. Let's have a bigger conversation on how to deal with this situation. And Engineer Abdullahi Mahama joins us for more on this conversation. Sir, I'm grateful for your time this afternoon.
Thank you, Aisha.
So what exactly is the problem with us as a country? Reason why we see these recurring flooding, I mean, after just a little rain?
There is good afternoon to your viewers and listeners. There is a level of indiscipline cutting across all sector, i.e. from the residents, from the institutions who have been mandated by law to ensure that they sanitize the system. Now, if I have to just zero in onto the Oyarifa before any other general one, I was part of those who constructed the Oyarifa, Ayimensa, Peduasi, Kitasi, Ebri Road all the way to Manfi in 2004 to 2007. At that time, the Oyarifa, if you are Ebri bound, the right-hand side was fairly a very flat land. And then in my subsequent interviews with your station and other sister stations, I may declare that what I've seen on the left-hand side, if you are a brief bound, that is the mountainous areas being scraped up the vegetation, estates springing up like mushrooms on the left-hand side, where is the mountainous areas, where they have actually covered all the buffer, the buffer areas underneath the mountain. And then the sharp growth of these estate developers without recourse to the law is one of the problems. Ironically, the MCE and the MP are now crying foul. I'm so disappointed hearing the MCE making comments like laughable, and I'm a bit disappointed in the lawmaker also trying to initiate a demonstration. Why? The Assembly has power under the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act of 2016. They also have the power under the Building Regulation LI 1960, 1996, 1630. Now, these laws give the Assembly the power to ensure that nobody, even if a recalcitrant or a very bad developer decide to infringe on the right of the Assembly, they have the power to stop any development happening within that corridor. Oyarifa is a fairly flat area. And what I preempted about 10 years, 6 years, 5 years ago is now meeting us in the face. The topography is such that the road was elevated high and there were adequate culverts constructed underneath the road to allow movement of water from the hill area to lower area in all directions. Just about 2019, a congregation went to church around the Oyarifa Special Ice in the evening. And interestingly, all the people there slept at the church because it started raining in the evening. All the church areas was filled about 1 meter and they slept on their benches. The assembly has all these records. So if the assembly now, headed by an MC, decide to say that it's like a rhetoric, as in it's laughable, that the people are ranting through their MP, then the least said about that statement, the better. Now let me give you just a few examples. The assembly has the power that anybody who is putting up a building, first and foremost, under their building permit regulation 13, has to ensure that his physical development gets approval from the assembly. So if the assembly has been sleeping and have allowed people who are desperate for homes, okay, some of them who do not actually consider having to think about the future in an event where there are rainfall, to go and put up structures in unapproved areas, then assembly is liable and have to be blamed squarely. I don't see why at this point in time, everything that happens in all the district or all the municipality want to go and hold the central government. I am an engineer, and I've been chastising my engineers who are heading the works department of all the various assemblies because they are checking their responsibility. Now, let me give you these few examples. When you look at the permits, the requirement by anybody to put up any building in a hilly area, a nice area, a fairly good area or not, the first requirement that the assembly requests from the person is that the person is supposed to construct the building having been given the permit by the assembly. So when you go to the regulation 13 of the assembly, it says that a person shall not undertake any physical development of land within a district unless that person has been issued with a permit by the district assembly within the jurisdiction in which the land is situated. Now, if this person overlooks this requirement, the assembly is mandated by the same act at 2016. When you go to Article 121, it states that the officer, in this case the assembly, may without notice to the developer effect or carry out instant prohibition, abatement, alteration, removal, or demolition of an unauthorized development if that breach is creating an environmental nuisance as defined in an enactment relating to the environment or interferes with the use of the public right of space. And this critical example classifies an environmental nuisance. So the assembly, headed by the MCE, which has a committee, a works committee, which has an engineer, a planning officer, a NADMO officer, a fire service officer, ECG, and all those embodiments have overlooked, and Oyarifa has gotten to this state. I am saddened that as an individual, I've been speaking about this mess, which is growing or creeping without any recourse to the law for the past 10 years. And it seems that my engineers who have been employed at the assemblies are sleeping. One of the most important things that we have to know is that I have become an advocate, okay, with all the risk involved. Now, my colleagues who run to us tell us that some of them who want to go by the laid down rules and regulation are victimized by the same MMDCs because of political influence. I have the gut to have some guys, evidence of people who have been transferred from their district because they wanted to do the right thing. Now, the most critical one, when you go to the building regulation, LI 1960, there's one of the articles that states, and this goes to the Oyarifa people or the assembly, it states that Regulation 13 Part 2 indicate that no site, and in this case, no land liable to flooding shall be built upon without adequate provision for flood control. These are clear-cut, explicit laws which doesn't need any lot of interpretation. So even if the assembly tell us that they don't own their lands, let's say, Aisha, you have about 1 acre of land at Oyarifa that you want to sell, and that land is situated in a flood-prone area. It's only incumbent on you as the individual to ensure that you have adequately provided measures to control the flood before the assembly would have to do their inspection and then allow permit to be given to any developer in developing those areas. One of the things that we have not noticed at Oyarifa is that the springing up of estates like mushrooms. People have come to stay there from the time I was doing the construction or also part of the construction, and they didn't have any problem because they bought ideal lands, they developed their land peacefully, even though I admit that a lot of people have also come in, and even with the rain, as they are standing there, people are still putting out their buildings in the waterway, as I'm speaking with you right now. Now, let's look at the people who have actually bought their lands at the time that there was no issue, at the time that they knew that all the culverts were working. Then, 10 years down the line, and a developer or an individual decided, because he has so much money, he wants to block a culvert area or a channel and put up the building. You don't hold the individuals who are now suffering, but the assembly. Like I said on Saturday on one of the programs I had on one of the teaser stations, that I have decided to single-handedly, with the help of a lawyer, start to address the same stimulant mess that is beginning to keep its ugly head in Nsawam. And I will implore all engineers who find themselves in these areas to start to stand out and be counted if our assemblies have decided to be sleeping.
Engineer Mahama, I understand the passion with which you talk about this situation. In fact, I feel the same way here in the studio. But governments over the years have promised, and I'm happy you point at the assemblies for failing to do their jobs. Governments, I mean, over the years have said that they will do one thing or the other to deal with this mess. But the problem keeps compounding. What should be our approach in handling this? You talk about engineers taking up the matter, but let's look at the bigger picture at the government level.
You see, Aisha, let's, as an engineer, I'm speaking with the engineer's eye. Before the government comes in to handle the huge ones, the assembly is part of government. And the assembly has been headed off by a government representative. I know the challenge involved in government trying to get so much money to construct roads, arterial roads, collector roads within the districts across the country. But if the assemblies decide to go to the back and oversee to such kind of reckless construction, the roads will not yield any positive results. I have stated about 2-3 years ago that no matter the expansion of culverts, storm drains, the Odo Silting, and all major drains that are being constructed in Accra, if we do not tackle Ayimensa, Oyarifa, Peduase, Amasaman, Makati Hills, Pabinya, Brekusu area, what is happening there? A government does not refocus to handle the mess being created by individuals and corporate bodies, i.e. estate developers, who create tens of thousands of storm drains in Accra. But unfortunately, the water that will be collecting or be expected to be received in Accra cannot be contained by these culverts. So I am putting the blame first and foremost that the assemblies have to start to work, and individuals who are a bit knowledgeable in all these districts should start to question what the assembly, in this case, the physical planning authority at the assembly, and then the works department head at the assembly are doing to also try and have more or less a piecemeal, a small approach towards sanitizing the local area. Because you see, the road construction that we have done over the years, I've noticed that in recent times, roads suddenly start to flood. And I was asking the question, if a road was constructed about 10 years ago or 5 years ago, and that road is not flooding, and within a matter of 1 year, like I've seen from Kwabenya police station towards Hachu, this year for the first time, Hachu-Kwabenya road has flooded more than 1 meter. Why? Because from the Kwabenya police station en route to Hachu, on the right hand side around the Allied Science, developers and individuals have come to construct a more than 200-meter wall, obstructing the stream of flow of water underneath the road. That cannot always be to the government. There's a local assembly in that area who has been mandated by law to ensure that these things do not start to trickle within that area before it metamorphoses to the greater picture. Because if everybody is doing these small ones within their district, what we call in my school, for instance, we said brighten the corner where you are. So if every assembly decides that they will nip this in the bag by trying to ensure that investors, developers, residential buildings are done in conformity with these beautiful laws of the assembly, the LI, the Land Use Special Order at 2016, and then the Building Regulation LI 1630 1996. These two documents alone can bring this issue to a great minimum in terms of percentage of flooding. And I am so I'm so abreast with information within the Accra enclave. And I take it upon myself in any opportunity I get on radio and TV to keep on hammering about what the assemblies ought to start doing, because the assembly is part of government. And it's so painful that with all the power that they have, they want to go to the central government. The central government has a budget, and they will handle their budget as and when they need them, they have the money. But the local assembly ought to start to work and be counted. Otherwise, like I've said earlier, I'm saying today, in the next 3, 4, 5 years again, Accra cannot contain the flood waters that will come, no matter what happens in Accra or the expansion of the drainages. I'm sorry, I have left Accra because I cannot stay in this mess. I am foreseeing that in the next 10 years, we cannot contain the flood waters within the setup because of the non-performance of the local assemblies. Let's start to address the issue from where it is starting from. And the assembly is responsible, not the central government, but engineers like myself have been put at the positions who have so knowledgeable that this area cannot be developed by any developer. And
Engineer Mahama, with the information that you have at hand, is this something that you've brought to the notice of the Greater Accra Minister, for instance? I know he's a fine gentleman and will, accept such engagement.
So you may use this your medium. I've done several attempts. I've done a lot to get some of the attention. I don't need this thing for popularity. I have done this for the past 17 years, and I've projected and given a lot of information or predicted. Unfortunately, I've been predicting some of the bad things which are happening, like the Ayimensa collapse of the mountain area, the Wager one, the flood in Accra, the circle interchange issues. This, if you go on the net and you just go, or you go to my Twitter handle at Mahama_Abdullahi, you will see countless of this there. I have tried to get to the minister and other people. It's up to them to also open their doors for us, because we're having so much pain in learning a lot of the history of the country and adding our engineering bit to it, but people are sleeping.
Certainly.
Your station knows me so well. Joy FM, Joy TV, everybody, they have all the records of what I've been saying for the past 6, 7 years. And all of them are on your network portals.
It's certainly a conversation that we'll keep having until we have less floods or none after every rainfall in Accra and other parts of the country. Engineer Abdullahi Mahama, I'm grateful for your time this afternoon. He is a civil engineer. But Manuel, you've been speaking with some authority. I mean, you spoke with the MCE, the MP for the Oyarifa Medina, Francis Sosu has also been responding. What exactly have they been saying would help deal with this challenge?
Well, I think that everybody agrees, and all the authorities indeed that we've been speaking to agree that the long-lasting solution will be to expand the culverts, the drains, and so on and so forth. Particularly at the Oyarifa area, there are no storm drains. And so that seems to be the long-term solution. But in the interim, it seems to be a merry-go-round of blame games that are being, thrown about. For instance, this morning, the Member of Parliament, sort of was trading blames with the Municipal Chief Executive for the area. In the end, as these blame games are played, it's the people who indeed are the suffering end of the entire situation. So for some of them, they've had to take the situation into their own hands. Some of them, I see some of them packing out of the areas that they are having, perhaps temporary evacuation, which are, individually inspired. And so that's the situation. There's not been, at least at this moment, any direct response from the authority, save for the Oyarifa area, where NADMO officials today went with their gadgets, but had to move away because the situation was more than their machines could contain.
Manuel Kranting is our man. He's now the flood ambassador. But let's do more on another very critical issue affecting our society. Because in Wawase, a farming community in the Fija Kwabre South in the Ashanti region has been thrown into a state of shock and mourning after a 47-year-old man allegedly murdered 3 people. Kwadwo Edusei is said to have first killed his friend after he allegedly saw him having an affair with his fiancée in a dream. It took the timely intervention of the Ankasi police to rescue Eduse after a section of the youth in the town overpowered and assaulted him. My colleague Ohiming Teria of our security desk is in that town and joins us on the line for more. Ohiming, this is quite bizarre. What else have you gathered from this incident?
Yes, Aisha, the entire community is in a state of mourning, losing 3 men within the space of 2 days, and they are also shocked at the motive behind the murder of these 3 men. Apparently, the motive that has also, compounded their grief, knowing very well that if you listen to the argument being extended by the suspect, then that is what is making them grieve so much. The residents, upon the arrest of the suspect, Kojo Eduse, he told the community that he carried out this nefarious act because first, on the first victim, Kosipa, age 47, he actually saw him in his dream having an affair with his fiancée. So upon a second thought, when he woke up, then he hatched that plan, lured the victim to a nearby bush, and in the process, butchered him. So the body of Sibanahine was discovered a day after he has been murdered upon a search party has been dispatched to the nearby bushes. And we are told that the suspect was even among the people who combed the bushes, searching for the victim. And then on Saturday, that is 2 days after the incident, when the first victim's body was discovered, a day after, then he went to the rooms of 2 other victims, Kwabran Kroma and Kwame Kwache, aged 84 and 86 respectively, and then in the process butchered them. So what we are told is that Kwabran Kroma died few hours upon admission at the Ankasi State Healing Hospital, and then Kwabran Kwache also passed on a day after his admission at the hospital. So the entire community is still grieving over the incident, wondering as to what would, push somebody to commit this crime based on the reason that he has given. Back at the police station, information I have picked from my police sources indicates that Eduse has, confessed to the killing of the 2 victims, namely Kwabena Nkrumah and Kwame Kwase, but he has denied ever killing Mr. Kwesi Banahine, who we are told is a very close friend, and they are also related otherwise. So police are still investigating the matter, but just this afternoon, I've been told that the suspect was put before the Mampontein Magistrate Court, of which we are yet to get details as to whether he has been remanded into police or prison custody. So we get more information on that. But when I spoke to relatives of the deceased, the information I take was that apparently the suspect attacked the victims without any provocation. They were resting somewhere, resting in their rooms or on their bed, and then the other victim was also actually resting in his room on a bench, and when the suspect actually pounced on him. And so they've been still wondering why the suspect would target these victims and kill them in that gruesome manner.
Ohime, how is police handling this issue?
Yes, on Saturday.
Hello, Ohime. All right, so Ohiming Teria is our man on this beat. He's with the security desk, and he's been telling us how the people in that area are receiving this news of people having one mental disorder or the other and committing this kind of heinous crime, killing 3 people because he had a dream someone was having an affair with his wife. We'll do more on this because it's been just 2 days since Ghana joined the world to mark Mental Health Day. The theme this year was mental health in an unequal world. Yes, unequal in many respects. Today, we continue the conversation on mental health care with a focus on community care. How can we build a system that supports people with mental health issues at the community level? Well, to do this effectively, let's take a look at the extent of the problem in our communities. And we've taken the pain to do this for you so you can understand how dire the situation is. And you look at data provided by the Ministry of Health in 2021, it reveals that a total of 3.1 million Ghanaians, representing 10% of the country's projected 31 million population, have mental disorders. 10% of the population. According to the ministry, it is established that 41% of Ghanaians have psychological distress, which is either mild, moderate, or severe. And the number of people with severe mental illness on the streets is now 16,000 people out of Ghana's population. That's how many people are on the streets who have mental disorders. Now, you look at cost of mental illness, and it is taking 7% of the country's GDP. Ghana loses 7% of its GDP to mental illness. Even at that, the people who are in charge of taking care of mental people say it's not enough because they need more to do that. Now, let's look at the trend, the incidence of suicides in Ghana from 2018 to 2021. And if you look at 2018, 797 people committed suicide in that year. In 2019, 880 people committed suicide. In 2020, 777 people committed suicide. Luckily for us, in 2021, the figure has dropped significantly from 777 to 417. But that also does not erase the fact that a lot of people in our communities are still living with mental disorders that need attention. If you look at the incidents from January to June 2021, right, so in fact, I can't even call this an achievement because the year has not ended yet, but this figure, 417, is between January and June, which could even make it more by the end of the year 2021. And this reason is why we need to have a conversation about why people are going through all these trauma, stress, and what have you, but nobody is paying attention to them. Let's have a conversation, and I'm joined by Dr. Collins Bigwajaman. He's a lecturer and researcher at the Department of Psychology at the University of Ghana, and he's president of the National Psychological Association. Doc, I'm grateful for your time.
Sure. For the opportunity.
Now, let's understand what the challenge is when it comes to mental health care. What really is the challenge with this, providing mental health care for people who need it?
Well, Aisha, it looks as if as a country we've made some progress, but the progress is not enough given the needs of Ghanaians now. Some years ago, some decades ago, we didn't have a law that really was interested in the mental health of Ghanaians. And since 2012 onward, we have a mental health law. And that, to me, is a lot of progress. If you look at the regulation for psychologists alone, we also have a council that is to regulate the activities of all psychologists. For me, that is progress, but a lot of questions are still there. It is one thing having a law, it is another activating what makes the law work. It is one thing having a law, it is another also implementing the tenets, the brain behind, the latent utility of the law. So yes, we may have made some progress in terms of people getting to know that the well-being and mental health is relevant. But I think we have a number of challenges, and if you permit me, I would be very glad to enumerate some of the challenges that is gradually increasing the woes of people as far as mental health is concerned.
Ajiman Bedu, tell me what exactly those challenges are.
Let me talk about capacity development. So far, if you look at the data that you shared, we can speak about having almost 50 psychiatrists in Ghana. Now, having a team of psychiatrists is only one side of the discussion. When we talk of mental health, it is a conglomerate of a number of professionals. We need psychologists, even social workers, mental health nurses, psychiatrists. We all need to work together to be able to promote the mental health and well-being of Ghanaians. If as a country we have only 50 psychiatrists, how do we protect the mental health of Ghanaians? At least we have some gains. We have a number of trained psychologists. The role of psychologists is to promote more or less well-being, to optimize the well-being of all employees, all community members, all members within the catchment areas. How many of these psychologists are deployed? So yes, we may have trained a lot of people, but if indeed we do have one district, one factory as an agenda, in my view, having one district, 10 psychologists is even an understatement as the stepping stone to build a fundamental mental health framework. So that is one angle. The other angle has to do with the kind of support that we give to those who are actually advocating for mental health. If you look at the budgetary allocation assigned to mental health, it's very abysmal. It is indeed a non-starter. If you talk about how much support is given to mental health, then you ask yourself, is this of importance to the entire nation? In my view, if we promote the well-being of people, if we promote and optimize the well-being of people, then we will not have serious mental health disorders and mental illnesses within our community. But the point is, the budgetary allocations are so small, then you can competently say that you have challenges managing some of these challenges that we are facing as a country. That notwithstanding, the media, you also have a role to play. I think it's about time we train the media on the best way to be able to actually report. And that is something that indeed we have not been able to do so well. So in terms of training journalists on how they can report on mental health issues, we have a lot of work to do. If we work together, then we'll be able to actually get things done in the right way.
Now, I remember there was a research that you did and said many people in the working environment are actually having one mental disorder or the other. But no one is paying attention to them. How serious is this problem?
So the first question I need to ask, if we say Ministry of Employment, what are some of the things that they do? This is the big question that we need to really look at. Well, if you look at the core mandate of the ministry, one area that I will challenge the ministry to look at is the mental health of employees. Employees are going through a lot of work-related stress. Many employees get bullied, workplace bullying. So emotionally, they continue to labor in their hearts, but they cannot complain. Work-related conflicts are some of the things that are swallowing people. People continue to suppress the challenges that they are facing at the workplaces. Workplace harassment is another that you can speak about. Not to talk about few people who may need mental health support. Are HR managers, HR directors, are they trained to be able to adequately resource their people? Are they trained to identify that this person will be going through mental health challenges and so we need to give support to? There are a number of employees from our practice who make mistakes. They get it wrong. They keep repeating it. It may not be as a result of non-performance, but simply because there may be spillover effects. They are finding it difficult to manage their work with their life or their life with their work. They are finding it difficult to deal with home-related violence. They are finding it difficult to manage life-related challenges that they are confronted with. There could be life-changing challenges that they are not able to adequately cope well. Some begin to use drugs. Thank God it's Friday. They will be drinking, smoking, hanging out with their colleagues at work till 4 a.m. on Saturday. These are all signs that a lot of our employees are going through tumultuous times and they need help. If HR managers and organizations are not taught to prioritize mental health and then they need to optimize, provide support, the same way we provide support for biological health, we need to prioritize the same thing and give support to mental health care.
Dr. Ajima, what could be wrong with a man who dreams about someone having an affair with his wife, wakes up and decides to take action on that dream?
Well, what I can say is that I cannot conjecture what specifically will be wrong with this man. But on top of my head, given the narrative, one particular psychologist says sometimes our dreams are a reflections of some of the anxieties and the challenges that we may be going through. And that is from the perspective of a theorist who studied dreams. Is it possible this person may be going through a lot of anxious, depressive situations, making the person act out what the dream was saying? My first prescription is that we need to assess this person critically. A clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist can come in to find out, was this person depressed? Is the person psychotic? And once this assessment is done, you'll be able to fully understand what is going on. But what I must say is that it is possible that this person may have one particular mental health situation needing attention. And that is what probably led to he acting out what he saw in his dream.
I guess it's the right time to bring in Dr. Stella Sena Afeti, who is psychiatrist in training at Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Dr. Sena, I'm grateful for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Does this incident have any indication of a mental health issue?
Well, like Dr. Bedu Ajiman said, I'm also not privy to the whole story, but the whole incident seems bizarre. It's a strange happening. It's not something that happens every single day. So one would ask himself or herself, why would somebody just get up one day and then just decide or just say that I had a dream that my fiancé was having an affair with my friend and just decide to kill this person? So we need to explore what actually went wrong. Does he have a mental illness? Has there been something going on? Has there been anything strange going on in his life? What about his behavior? Has anything unusual been happening in his behavior that somebody has noticed? Has he become more suspicious? Is he sleeping less? So all these things, you need to ask yourself these questions. And you can't just make a decision or just reach a conclusion by hearing this story. Of course, an assessment needs to be done. And that's when we would invite this person in to get a full psychiatric evaluation and get to the bottom of this.
Dr. Afeti, I need you to share with me some of the challenges you've had to deal with. For instance, when those days when you see a lot of women at the psychiatric hospital, the common thing that comes to mind is that, okay, some man has given her a broken heart and she has had to go through a lot of stress and then now she's going mad. What are some of the issues that you've had to deal with at your hospital?
Well, Dr. Bedu Ajiman said one of them. The challenge is that we have a lot of people or patients with mental health issues, but very little number of psychiatrists. So you have a lot of people coming to our OPDs, and we are trying to give them our maximum best. But then, most of the drugs that we prescribe to our patients are not on health insurance. They are not on the national health insurance. And these patients are on medications that are lifelong medications. They have to be on it throughout their whole life. And with no support, because some of our patients, or most of our patients, are coming from deprived backgrounds economically, so they cannot afford to pay for their health care or purchase their medications. So that brings a lot of trouble. That presents a lot of challenges to us, especially when we are trying to get them to stay on their medications. And another one is that most people, or people that would have mental illness, do not come to the hospital. Why? Because of stigma. Stigma is a very important detriment to our management. So people would have one issue or the other, but they keep it to themselves because they feel like if they should come to the psychiatric hospital, people will see them and point fingers at them. They'll be stigmatized, you know. So all these are challenges that we face. And then we don't have a lot of spaces on our wards. Our wards are full up with patients that have been here for so many years, and we are trying to locate their relatives because patients' relatives would come and leave their relatives, and then they will not come and check up on them again. And then they leave them to the care of the health practitioners, who would have to find ways and means of getting them well. And then when it comes for them to be discharged, to go home, we find it difficult to do that because most of their relatives would have disappeared. So these are some of the challenges that we face at Accra Psychiatric Hospital, where I am now.
Dr. Ajiman, what are the causes of the situation we are currently witnessing?
Well, I cannot agree further with what my sister Senna just said. We need to prioritize mental health care. I think when COVID-19 came, we can see the kind of support that we have given COVID-19. COVID-19 has taken a little over 1,000 people within 2 years. I tell you, the costs of mental health neglect is far more than that of COVID-19. Is it possible we may have to also introduce, let me say, 1% mental health levy? That would be very good to be able to address, especially the resource limitations that we have as far as mental health care is concerned. If you think about road accidents, there is a strong link between road accident and mental health, or mental health and road accidents. In that, if you just check the eyes of people and you give them a license, that is not enough. If someone is anxious, someone is depressed, but have a driving license and is still driving, then in Ghana, we are all in danger. If you look at the youth who are unemployed, they are going through a lot of challenges. If we do not empower them, get psychologists, career developers, career enhancers, those who identify their skill set and support them to realign their thinking and their behavior, then we will be in trouble. Where are the people? Where are they stationed? I can say that we have a number of trained mental health professionals from some angles. We have a number of psychologists from different angles: clinical psychologists, counseling psychologists, industrial and organizational, community, social. Even though psychiatrists may be less, if we blend and pull these people together, assign them to the various hospitals, the various work centers, and what have you, it will be a great starting point. Until we do this, we will continue to keep saying this, and we develop the vulture syndrome. As and when there is one particular case, we will come on air, we will discuss it, newspaper review, we will talk about them, and then by the end of the week, it dies away. Another matter will come up, we will discuss it, it dies away. How long can we continue to be repeating this? Not long ago, we were talking about Abesin. Not long ago, we were talking about Axim. Not long ago, we were talking about sodomy. Not long ago, we are talking about this matter. All these issues have mental health-oriented underpinnings. We need to prioritize it. And I feel introducing a 1% levy to support mental health now more than ever is very necessary.
Dr. Afeti, for you, what would be the biggest intervention that can help deal with this challenge from where you sit?
The biggest thing for me is for us to realize as a country that mental health is important. So important that if one is not healthy mentally, one cannot be healthy physically. I think the earlier we start understanding that and living that, then it would be a big step towards making changes. We need to recognize and understand that if mental health is not number one, then we are wasting a whole lot of time just looking at our physical health. I couldn't agree more with Dr. Collins Bedu-Agyemang about the 1% levy, which would go a long way to helping mental health, our patients. And, just creating an environment where mental health is not, it's not a stigma to have a mental illness. You can say that I have depression. You can say that I have an anxiety disorder and I'm taking medications for it and not be stigmatized for it. So yes, number one is the recognition and acceptance that it is an important aspect of our health system. And number two, just go ahead with what Dr. Agyemang said. A great idea, and I thank him for that. And I also want to add that this week, or the whole of October, is Mental Health Week, or Mental Health Month, sorry. So, and our theme for this year is mental health in an unequal world. And we should take the opportunity that we are presenting, especially across psychiatric hospital. We are offering a free counseling service for anybody who feels that he or she needs to talk to somebody. The numbers will be displayed. I'll share the numbers so that we can display them, to call in and just take the opportunity to share your issue and see how best we can help you. We know that we are living in an unequal world. We don't have equal access to facilities, especially to mental health. And so this is our way of bridging that gap, especially in this month of October, where we are celebrating our mental health month.
Dr. Bedu-Agyemang, I mean, for people who wake up one day and they do not feel all sound up there, they feel that everything is not all right with them, and they think there is something possibly wrong, what do you advise that they do, or how do you advise they go about this?
The simplest thing I can say to you, they should talk to someone close by them. Just remember how I feel. And that is a good point. That person may not be a professional, but will be able to give you encouragement that it will be well. The next thing that I want to say is that we can feel free to seek help. What that we have, most of the tertiary institutions have counseling and well-being units. So if we have a number of institutions in all the regions, if we walk to any of the universities, any of the colleges, we will have the opportunity to engage any of the members within the counseling and wellness units. Another thing that we need to say, it is okay to seek help. We shouldn't seek help. Just as we are putting numbers, we are encouraging people to talk to us. Feel free, reach out to any of us. If you don't know anybody, feel free, any FM station, radio station that know, call their number, talk to whoever picked the call that this is how I feel. Can you get me someone who can help me? Every radio station, a psychologist or a psychiatrist have spoken there. And that will be another fine starting point to be able to help. I also teach religious organizations. It is about time to take mental health needs of our congregants, of our students, very important in our lives. If we prioritize it and organize programs to support these people that we are grooming, it will be another good and a good starting point to be able to advocate well for mental health support. So all in all, let's reach out. Let's get out there and seek help. If you are able to do so, I am confident that we'll make a good headway. So on our part, as individuals, let's reach out. As family members and friends, let's provide social support. As state agents, lawmakers, macro institutions, let's make the resources available to support the people. If we have mental health professionals, let's get them to support all the hospitals, all the agencies, all the workplaces. If we take these bold steps, I am confident we make the best headway, not to come back anytime there is a mental health related issue and discuss them, and it ends there, waiting for another moment to discuss it.
I'm extremely grateful for your time. Dr. Collins Bedouajeman, he is a lecturer at the Psychology Department at the University of Ghana and president of the Psychology Association of Ghana. I'm grateful for your time. And Dr. Feti, you wanted to provide some numbers for people who need help to call?
Yes. Yes.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So as part of our monthly October program in towards supporting mental health, Accra Psychiatry Hospital is organizing a free mental health counseling from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day. And there are some numbers that I'll call out. The numbers are 057 223 2619 or 057 769 0753.
All right.
Or 050 185 9321. So you can call any of these numbers from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and you would get your free mental health counseling.
I want to say a big thank you for joining the conversation. Dr. Sena Afeti, she's psychiatrist in training at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. The number she mentioned, 057 223261 9 or 057 76 90753 or 050 1859321. You may call any of these numbers if you're having challenges and you need help. Let's do more on this one, but that will be after this break. On the polls, Majority Leader Osechi Mensah Bonsu, who says members of Parliament in principle are in support of the promotion of the Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill 2021. We'll bring you details shortly after this break. Welcome back to The Pulse. We are live from our studios in Kokomlimle. You can also join via all our social media handles at JoyNews TV and also tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. Now, Majority Leader Osechi Mensah Bonsu says members of Parliament in principle are in support of the promotion of proper human sexual rights. And he says that they will do the needful when they get to that bridge.
In principle, I'm not sure any member of Parliament would be against the principle of this bill. I'm not sure. Because I'm African, I'm an African, I'm a Ghanaian, Ashanti, a Kwabri man, and I have my own values, I have my own upbringing. right? So that one is shaped by my traditional upbringing. As I've said, along the line, Christian as I am, and I was born into Assemblies of God. So my faith also impacts on my upbringing. But that's not the only thing that shapes my upbringing, right? So that is it. And that is why I'm saying, that's why I referred us to the first provision in chapter 11 of the Constitution, which is Article 125, when it says that justice emanates from the people. And we have our own concepts of what is right and what is wrong. I don't know of any ethnic group in this country that will applaud this. But having said so, we also operate with the Constitution. We must operate within the ambit of the Constitution. And that is why I said we'll do what is right for the people of this country.
Well, there are emerging concerns with the bill and whether or not it may suffer termination. The majority leader has also taken on the speaker on the bill.
I listened, and if I heard right, the speaker was even saying that the bill is going to be passed, if I heard right. But I have a little bit of a challenge with that. Technically, the speaker is not a member of parliament. So the speaker cannot commit parliament. The speaker can make a referral to parliament, which will be programmed by the business committee for consideration. But the speaker, I'll find it difficult if you have a speaker who would, in spite of his own antecedents as a former member of parliament, to say that parliament is going to pass the bill. It's a bit of a difficulty, unless I didn't hear well. But if I heard well, that Parliament is going to pass it, that would present some challenge. I'm not saying Parliament is not going to pass it, but the Speaker should not make a predetermination for the House, because he's not a member of Parliament, and this is the business of Parliament. Elsewhere, in some jurisdictions, in many jurisdictions, speakers are members of Parliament, right? And some speakers are even majority leaders. Don't forget. In some jurisdictions, the speakers are majority leaders, and they double up as the speakers. Here, in the wisdom of the crafters of the Constitution, they elected not to have the speaker as a member of parliament. So I pray that the speaker would exercise some discretion in these matters, some circumspection, I should say.
Meanwhile, opponents of the bill have been demonstrating in New York against its passage. Rabina Hashville is one of the lead demonstrators. We'll bring you details shortly. Now, the Supreme Court has set October 26 to deliver its ruling in a case asking that it allows a Supreme Court judge accused of bias to continue hearing the case involving former Kokobot CEO Stephen Opuni. Justice Clemens Honyanuga was in July this year barred from hearing that case when the court said the allegation of bias against him had merit. The AG wants set aside. There's more in the following report.
Joined by his two deputies, Diana Dapai and Alfred Tuayeboa, the Attorney General Godfrey Adami moved his motion. He explained to the court that the judge did not demonstrate any bias as had been alleged by lawyers for Dr. Opuni to merit being restrained from hearing the matter. He says the judge simply applied time-tested decisions of the Supreme Court. And if the Supreme Court was minded to set that aside or depart from its earlier decisions, the judge should not be the one bearing the brunt of that particular move. And so the matter that was before the Supreme Court was of the nature that there should be an error that was obvious. And so he said that no such error had been committed by the judge to warrant the intervention of the Supreme Court. The lawyers for Dr. Opuni disagreed with this submission. They made a point that as far as they are concerned, Justice Clemens Onyeniga had made up his mind through comments he made while ruling on a submission of no case that he was going to sentence Dr. Opuni and was simply going through the ritual of trial. The AG at that point in time had some concerns about that comment, but Mr. Kujo, who represents Dr. Opuni, made a point that those are matters that are already contained in the documents which they filed in court. After hearing both sides, the Supreme Court opted to adjourn the matter to October 26 to deliver its ruling on it. And so the review decision is important in that the initial decision was a 3-2 majority decision. The case was originally heard by Justices Jones Doche, A.M. Doji, Amadou Tanko, Lovelace Johnson, and Gabriel Puaman. Justice Gabriel Puaman, who wrote the lead judgment, concluded that the test is an objective test based on the principle that justice must be done, as he said that a case of bias had been made. He was backed by his colleagues, Justices A.M. Doji and Tanko Amadou. Justices Jones Doche and Lovelace Johnson disagreed. The review application is being heard by Justices Gertrude Tokonu and Professor Ashikote, who have joined the original panel. Reporting for JoyNews from the Supreme Court, my name is Joseph Akable.
And I'm sure you've heard about Reverend Father Campbell. Just in case someone is new to that name, let me tell them. He's a Catholic priest who has dedicated his life to supporting vulnerable and deprived people, especially persons with leprosy. Well, if you still don't catch those beats, let me present to you the man himself, Reverend Father Andrew Campbell. Tomorrow will be exactly 50 years since he came from Ireland to Ghana for his missionary work, and his blessing has really been a blessing. Good to see you, Father Campbell.
Good afternoon.
And how has the journey been so far? Let me say congratulations, first of all,
thank you very
for
much.
this milestone.
50 years tomorrow, I arrived in Tema Harbour.
Okay.
I came from Liverpool. I left Liverpool on the 1st of October, and I arrived 13 days later, on the 13th of October, 1971. And I've been here ever since, 50 years. So tomorrow will be a very happy day for me.
We really appreciate it.
We're going to celebrate it on Saturday.
Okay.
On Saturday, we're going to celebrate the 50th anniversary, Thanksgiving to God. We're going to commission some new buildings at Waja Leprosarium. That's where I'm living.
Wow.
I'm living there now at Waja. And we're going to commission new residences, 40 new rooms. Each of the cured lepers is getting a beautiful new room each. So we're going to commission 40 rooms and also a clinic with a research centre. It'll be the only research centre for leprosy in the whole of West Africa.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to commission that on Saturday morning, you know, and it's in conjunction with my 50th anniversary to thank God for all the blessings He's given to us.
Definitely. We will all join you in thanking God for this milestone. But we understand that you are ending your pastoral work. What next for
actually,
you?
Nobody, you never end your past because you're always called upon for sick calls or for a wedding or for a funeral or to pray for some people. But I'm not in charge of any parish.
Okay.
I've no church. I've no particular church. I'm living at Waja and I minister to the lepers there. I've mass there every day. And on Sundays I meet all the cured lepers together. We've mass together. So I'm retired as an active parish priest of a parish.
Okay.
But I'm still once a priest, always a priest. So you're always called upon, no matter when, you're called upon, you know, to minister to. Many people come for counseling, or they'll come for confession, or they'll come for some help. So I'm always available for them.
Reverend Father Campbell, what's the motivation? I mean, I've seen, and you just telling me, you live with people with leprosy. Under normal circumstances, people will reject them, people will discriminate them, people will stigmatize them. You chose to live with these people. What's the motivation? What's the drive?
I feel I'm continuing the work of Jesus Christ. Jesus came to bring love, to bring dignity, to bring happiness, to bring hope to the people, to all people, no matter who they were. He came to bring them hope. And I'm just continuing His work. I'm just a representative of Christ, and I want to continue helping, especially these people are forgotten. They're marginalized. You know, they're forgotten. You know, they're just trying to exist is not easy for them. You know, I'm not just helping those at Wager, I'm also helping those at Ho, those at Kokofu, those at Encanchina, those at Dwa, those at Ankofor. I'm also assisting them too. And thanks to Common Fund, they're the ones who are putting up the new buildings in Wager. They've also assisted in Wa, put up a beautiful new laboratory in Wa. They've also assisted in Ho, put in some new facilities there, and also in Ankofor. So I want to see them, you know, get dignity, that people won't shun them. Our biggest problem is stigma, the stigma of leprosy. You know, and they say once a leper, always a leper. It's not true. You know, if you get malaria, you're not called, when you're cured, you're not called the malaria patient. But they're still called lepers. And it's not right. So I want to give them love. I want to give them hope. I want to give them dignity. It's not right to see them out on the streets begging. Definitely. That pains me. They shouldn't be begging. We want to get them off the streets and, you know, give them dignity so they can stay in a nice, beautiful new room in Wager. We'll take care of them. We're going to give them a hot meal every day. Somebody just gave me a present of a beautiful cooker. So we want, on Saturday, I'm going to ask for volunteers. I want to start and adopt a granny scheme for the cured lepers.
Wow.
So I'll say, I'll come along and ask you, can you adopt one leper that each month you'll give me 100 cedis toward his upkeep or his medical care? If you can do that, you know, and adopt a cured leper, adopt a granny, because they're all grannies, granddads. So adopt a granny, and every month you give me so much, 100 cedis and uppers, to pay for his medical care, to pay for his food, to pay for whatever he has to. So this is what I'll be starting on Saturday, just asking for volunteers. I'm looking for 200 volunteers that would help me to do this every month, to help them in every way.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for all that you've been doing for us. We really, really appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
And God bless you. Are we invited to...
You're all invited. 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. Our Archbishop John Bonaventure Kofi will be there. Our nuncio, Apostolic Nuncio Tigano will be there. And the MC. I mean, there'll be lots and lots of people. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of them there. I'm praying that the Lord will stop the rain on that morning.
Definitely.
Lord, please stop the rain on that morning. It can rain in the afternoon or the night, but I'm praying for good weather on Saturday.
So that we can
all
have that
those who've
event.
been helped. I mean, I've been getting so much help. People have been so good to me and so generous to me, looking after the lepers, looking after the street children. I'm so grateful to all of them. I want to say thank you to them, a special way for what they've done for me. I'm grateful.
We're also grateful.
And thank you to Joy. Since I started work with the cured lepers, you've always been there behind me and supporting me and everything.
And
so thank
we'll
you.
be there on Saturday to support you
That's
as well.
wonderful, wonderful.
Reverend Father Campbell, thank you for coming. We'll take a break and make way for sports.
Hi there, Hans Mensando here with Sports on the Pulse. And the Black Stars are in the news. A first half free kick by Thomas Partey was enough to see off the Warriors of Zimbabwe as Ghana climbed to the summit of Group G in the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 qualifiers. Having lost the reverse fixture by 3-1, Zimbabwe needed results from this game to keep their faint hopes of qualifying for the World Cup alive. The win sends Ghana to 9 points ahead of South Africa by just 1 point. And of course, they play against Ethiopia later today. Let's take a look at the highlights and then we'll check out how Joy Sports rated the performance of the players.
Welcome to Harare, where Zimbabwe and Ghana meet again in qualifying for the 2022 World Cup. Ghana looking to leapfrog South Africa into top spot in the Group G standings. Sulemana is away from him and tries to beat the goalkeeper at the near post. It's turned behind by Talbot Shumba. Well, Kamaldeen Sulemana was always going to be one of the star attractions of this game today. Mohamed Kudus Ghana have been on the back foot for the last few minutes, but Kudus going for goal. Terrific strike from long range by Mohamed Kudus. Just over the top of the crossbar. About 25 metres out for Thomas Partey. Over the wall and through the goalkeeper and into the net. A thunderous hit from Thomas Partey. And the Black Stars of Ghana have the breakthrough here in Harare today. Over the head of the goalkeeper and blocked on the line. Oh, a huge moment in this game. Ghana very nearly doubling their lead. Tete trying to pick out a teammate in the middle. Partey lays it back for the shot. It's off the crossbar from Mohamed Kudus. Ghana once again very close to making it 2-0. Touched back to Kudus. Blocked by the wall. Might just come for Kere. Smashed wide by the substitute. Nicely done by Kudus. Kudus going for goal. Very difficult to beat the goalkeeper from that distance, but Mohamed Kudus has it in his locker. Ghana have done it. 1-0 winners here today in Harare. Delight for Milovan Rajavac and the Ghana staff, and Thomas Partey, the captain for the day, the hero for the Black Stars with that first half free kick.
Right, so a goal to nil, enough to get 3 points for Ghana and send them 9 points on the table. And of course, South Africa currently locked against Ethiopia in the other game in that group. Let's check out how Joy Sports rated the performance of the players. So you see that on your screen there. And of course, the goalkeeper, Jojo Walcott, scored 2.5 over 5. Daniel Amate played at right back. He got 2.5 over 5. Jonathan Mensah with 3.5 over 5. Alexander Jiku also with 4.5 over 5. And Babaraman rated 2.5 over 5. Baba Idrisu, one of the highest rated players there with 5 out of 5. And 5 out of 10, I beg your pardon. And we've got Thomas Partey with 6 out of 10. Mohamed Kudus with 5.5 out of 10. Jordan Ayew with 3 out of 10, I reckon. And Benjamin Tete with 2. Kamaldeen Sulemana with 4 out of 10. So the coach, Milovan Rajavac, scored 5. And you had Daniel Kofichero 1.5, came on as a substitute. Joseph Edu also in there with 1. So that's over 10. And pretty interesting, you know, Thomas Partey, obviously the highest rated player in the. Mohamed Kudus follows, and then there's Baba Idrisu, who was rated 5. We've got Jiku, Kamaldeen, Jonathan Mensah, Jordan Ayew also following in that order, and then Amate and Babaraman following before we have Benjamin Tete rated 2, and then Daniel Kofichero on as a substitute, and Joseph Edu also on as a substitute. I'll be off for now. We'll bring you more later at 10:30 p.m. We'll run the rule over how the Black Stars have performed in the first 2 games under Milovan Rajavac. What changes need to be made? Which areas do we need to strengthen? And what are our chances of topping the group and getting into that playoff phase of the World Cup qualifiers? In the meantime, read more at myjoyonline.com/sport. I am Hans Mensah, and many thanks for your time.
And that's how we part company this beautiful afternoon on The Pulse. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. I've indeed enjoyed my almost 2-hour stay with you. Up next is Let's Talk Showbiz to enjoy the rest of our programs.